Show me them pics. Let's see them pics though. Yeah, so I used the white background, and we have a couple of other kind of backgrounds we can use, but I felt like this would probably be the best. Tell me if you guys are actually seeing it right now, because I'm not actually sure. Hold on, hold on. Okay, yeah, you guys are seeing it. Good, good, good. So here, let's start here. Oh, no. Yeah. This is probably a decent shot to start with. This is my SD Sazabi. And this is my submission for GBWC 2023, the Gundam World Building Competition, if I'm getting that right. Daddy Likey, oh, what's up, Joe? What's up, Joe? What's up, Jose? Hopefully I'm not gonna mix you two guys up. It was close. It was a little close there, but how's it going? How's it going? Yeah, we got some panel lines going on, and this model, I didn't really intend for it to be a competition level piece. To be honest, it's something that I made for just to practice. You know, it was fairly inexpensive. It was like less than 15 bucks or something, and I was like, hey, this is a great chance to try out some plot plating, try out some scribing on a smallish figure, but for the entirety of the figure. Do you know what I mean? And so that was the main goal. And interestingly enough, this kit here, I built this along the same time as the Lapita robot, which I would then kind of sort of focus on mostly, and took that to a competition. So it's kind of interesting to think about that this other kit, which I had been making around the same time but then put on pause, also ended up becoming a competition piece. So here it is. Yeah, it's the SD Sazabi. Wonder if people Photoshop their pics before sending them. I feel like they probably do. It says you're not supposed to, of course, but beyond like color balancing and stuff like that. But I mean, the temptation is strong. If you've got people, if you've got like athletes taking like performance enhancing drugs to do better in competitions, I feel like gunpla nerds would be doing whatever they can do to give themselves an advantage. Show me them pics. Jose, yeah, what's up, Jose? Joe, I removed the Goku symbol. Yes, I heard that you did that, and I'm really sorry. I brought that up about decals, and gave you some extra work. Gunpla building, yeah. Where can I get those, Joe? Let's go take some performance enhancing D's. Vanilla super deformed. Yes, the super deformed. So here's so you have to submit a handful of photos. I think it's a minimum of 5 photos. You know, the front shot, the back shot, left, right, and then another shot, like a point of interest. I forgot what term they use, but it's like a, you know, an extra image which is intended to be the, you know, a charm point, you know. So I thought that this could be my sort of extra little point of interest. The way I went about painting the shield, and the symbol there. Normally in the kit they give you just a sticker, and of course people will usually upgrade the stickers to water slide decals, but I didn't even feel like doing that for this kit, so I actually ended up getting the extra emblem kit that they sell. It's like a Bandai emblem kit that has Federation symbols and as well as Xeon symbols, and they're 3D, you know, little things. So I decided to put this one on for the shield, and then I painted it to kind of look kind of like metallic, I guess, rather than using metallic gold paint. I was attempting, keyword attempting, to render it in a more like painterly, reflective kind of style using contrast and stuff, which in all honesty, guys, I'm still learning how to do that, and I'm not 100% confident in that technique, but it's something I want to practice and get better at. This is a decent example, but I feel like I could probably bump up the contrast even more in terms of like taking the white parts and having like a really sharp white glint, I guess is one way to say it. But yeah, there's some examples of the scratching and chipping on the shield you can see there, like right here and right here, which I've tried to continue it across the from the red to the dark parts, and it is a little kind of hard to see, to be honest. But one thing that I would like to sort of keep in mind in the future, now that I'm looking at this again also, is that this model has 3 layers of top coating on it. It has a gloss coat, and then it has two coats of like a flat matte coat on top. But what ended up happening is it kind of like how to phrase it, like it kind of dims down the subtleties. You kind of lose a little bit of the subtleties in the shading and the painting, which is something that I really wanted to focus on, was like was trying to paint the shadows and paint the light rather than just having a flat coat. You know, I wanted to kind of, as you can see, there's the planes here have like a darker tone, and then an even darker tone on the underside here, and then a darker tone here, and then the red is more pure here because this is the part that would be seeing the light, and it kind of matches this side here too, and then this surface here is a little less bright. I feel like prior to doing all the top coats and stuff, it was a bit more pronounced. So that's something to keep in mind, where in the painting process, maybe I'll have to make it much more, even more contrasting, because it does get dimmer once you add on other layers of contrast, or rather other layers of paint over top coat. Oh yeah, there's another shot. This shot here is a little is bigger, and you can kind of see a bit more of the detail there. Oh. And there's a close-up shot, and again you can kind of see some examples of the chipping here on the edges. And for something like this model, I wanted to not go too heavy into that. I didn't want to go too deep into the scratches and the weathering, and I was taking someone like Ray Studio. You guys of course know who Ray Studio is. He's a god. I wanted to take his work as an example of a good example of how to really do subtle chipping and stuff like that. So that's what we have here. You know, compared to something like a Machining Krieger model, my Machining Krieger stuff, which is like really heavily weathered and chipped, this is more subtle. The goal was to, like, if you were to look at it from a distance, you would just see the red of the Sazabi. You wouldn't see it and see the weathering and the chipping first. You would see that it was a red model. Do you know what I mean? And then the closer you look at it, the closer you can see. Hate his guts. How dare he be so good? Yeah, he's really talented. But yeah, you can actually see the panel lining here. These are all scribes, and pla plates were used throughout. And again, it's kind of subtle. Like, it's much more obvious when the model wasn't painted. But once it gets like that full, you know, black base coat and then painted bright, it kind of feels more uniform, which I like. And this shot, I find this shot to be kind of humorous to me for some reason. It kind of reminds me of Super Robot Wars or something. Like, it's just a funny shot to think about this thing like flying in space, in its super deformity, in its in its deformed state. It just seems kind of it's a plucky little guy. And there's another close-up of I can see it. There's another close-up of the plot plates, and this gun is ridiculous. Look how thin this gun is. It literally just comes right off the runner, You hear the Super Robot Wars music. You you clip the gun off the runners, and then that's it. There's no assembly required. It's so thin. It's kind of lame, and that's another one of those things where, you know, if I had more time, if I was looking really good like Kelly Hu's Widow's Peak, if I had a better, if I was more conscious of the time, and if I had thought about it, you know, maybe I could add more bulk and mass to the gun. Maybe even clip off these 2 bits here, which are mostly intended for like the extra gimmicky stuff that this model includes. And if you look here, actually, if you look here, this is a plastic straw, because the whole backpack unit, the back side of it is hollow, which looks really bad, you know. And again, this is, at that point, this model was not intended for a competition, as I said, but even then it just kind of annoyed me how hollow this was. And if I was going to the lengths of adding plot plates and scribing, I feel like at a basic level I should just fill in this part here. So yeah, these 2 back parts, the canisters or thruster gas containers, whatever, I used a plastic straw, and then this point here was hollow here. It's kind of like a triangular hollow point, and I just added like a single piece of plot plate to kind of fill out that space to make it look a bit more mechanical. Although, you know, again, if I wasn't as lazy, I guess maybe I would like fill it in and make a perfect like matching cylinder, you know. Milliput, yeah, if I used Milliput, that would have been a better choice, I think. Nice use of straw, nice straw use. And here's a shot of the whole back of the unit model. And again, when you're submitting to GBWC, you have to, it adds a lot of weight, yeah, because it dries and it's like hard as a rock, right? Yeah, when you're submitting to GBWC, you got to, at least for the Canadian one online, you got to go do front, side to side, back, right? So this is the back shot. And again, if we look here, this is all filled in. This is just a plot plate to fill in the back because it is a hollow point. And, you know, it probably would have been better to like make some kind of cool detail here, like venting and stuff, but you know, I was just like, I just want to fill it up. And once again, to remind you guys, like, I hadn't intended this to be a GBWC entry or a competition level piece. This was just me trying to learn how to use plot plates and all that, and this is what we came up with. Yeah, this is like a full shot of the model. About the pose, posing when you're, again, according to the instructions, according to the rules, you can't change the pose of your model, which is understandable, right? Like they want to see like a consistent pose throughout, on all sides. It was a little bit of a challenge for me with this SD model, super deformed in its deformity. Again, it's fairly inexpensive, right? And so it doesn't have that much articulation compared to something like an RG, compared to something like a master grade, even a high grade for that matter. Storm, you've done an exceptional job, as for. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm trying. I'm just trying out. I'm trying out here is the best way to phrase it. So I settled on this pose just because I felt like it showed off the sword and it showed off the gun. Unfortunately, there wasn't a really nice way to show off the shield from a front position. I was really kind of fussing with the model and trying to look for a nice angle, look for a nice pose where I could have the shield facing the front without obscuring too much of the model and all of that, but it's just really wasn't possible, to be honest. So that's something, if I could give you guys one piece of advice, not necessarily even for the GBWC, but for any model building competition, for a gunpla competition, think about your pose. Think about your pose like when you're building the model, when you're assembling it, once you're finished assembling the model, play around with it, pose it, and before you get to painting it too, because obviously once you paint the model, you're going to be less inclined to really manipulate the thing, because you don't want to run the risk of chipping it and all of that, you know what I mean, and getting your fingerprints all over it. So have that settled in, and possibly even, especially if you're making a diorama, think about just gluing it all together. Do you know what I mean? Because it is going to be in just that one position, even beyond a competition. Like, it's going to be on your display case and stuff, and in all likelihood you're not really going to play with it. I mean, some of you might play with your models, but think about that pose, because it's annoying to be right at the finish line, yeah, joints rubbing paint off, right? Drug enhancing, yeah, take those performance enhancing building drugs. It's just going to be really annoying to be right there at the end, and to have the tension of messing around with it. Do you know what I mean? But this was the best I could get to, that I felt showed off like a lot of nice points of the model from the front. And there we have like that would be the other side shot there. And yeah, I think that's about it. I took a few more photos of the model using like a colored, you know, like a multi-tone background. But I felt like for the judging for GBWC, they might just appreciate like a very simple, clear background. But for the purposes of like maybe posting on Instagram or something, I might post those other ones